Yep.
Carter said he's gonna be late.
Hey folks, I'm here, but I'm going to be running around in and out of the meeting, so I'm going to just keep my I'll keep it muted for most of the time. If I'm here, I'll be able to chat with y'all. But if I'm not in here, just I don't know. At least the meeting's going, and I'll get it recorded this way. But if I can't be here for most of it, I'll just keep my stuff on mute.
I think my new favorite thing about SCI is just sitting here and getting to watch Garrett in the background just do his thing.
Hey, Aaron.
What's up?
What is the I haven't been here for a little bit. So what's the best way for us to share the pieces like with the audio working properly?
Did you see the video I sent out?
No.
We've just been doing like when you click the share your screen button, the little window that pops up like right before you share your screen, you just click like use computer audio, and then that's what we've been doing.
Cool.
That's picking up the speaker though. You're not getting direct sound that way.
No,
Right.
it uses the.
So it's playing. The computer's playing from your. Are you? So you're using. Right? Did you watch the video I sent either, Bishop?
No. Oh, no, sorry.
No, Carter just told me how to do it.
Oh, okay. Let's see, because the video shows how to set all your Zoom settings, but also how to fix the finale settings, so you get like pure sound through.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look in your email, Chris, you just search my name. It should be in there. I sent it to SCF. You can just watch that real quick and fix your settings, because you want to fix the finale settings too. That way you get good sound. Roger.
Hey. Hey, Aaron. I listened to that Metropolis Part 2 a couple of times since last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I see the similarity.
Mm-hmm.
By any chance, are you familiar with the Neil Morse Band's album, The Great Adventure?
I am not.
It is along the same lines, but I think 10 times better.
Okay. What's his name?
Neil Morse, Neal, and Morse like Morse code. Neil Morse Band, The Great Adventure.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Metropolis 2 album has been a favorite of mine since high school. But I'm a big fan of the drummer Mike Portnoy.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
we've talked about him before a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
That's why I
Mike
really-
plays drums on this album.
Oh, well, perfect. And I'm definitely going to check it out then.
Yeah. And their guitarist, Eric Gillette, is just as much a shredder as, now I suddenly can't think of his name, but
Cool. Yeah, I'll check that out later.
yeah. John Petrucci, that's it. John's a little more all over the place, but Eric can play the same way.
You know, it's funny listening to guitar solos. I was listening to Guns N' Roses the other day. I used to love Guns N' Roses. Like, I was really big into them. And I thought Slash was like the greatest guitar player of all time. But now, like, having an education and listening back to Slash is like, he's not really doing anything special on guitar. He's just fast and sounds cool.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember being kind of frustrated at some guitarists, local players, nobody you ever heard of, that people just thought were great. And I was just, they're just, they're not doing anything. They're just playing really fast.
Yeah.
They're just, but what they're playing is nothing special. But anyway. David Gilmour doesn't, Pink Floyd, he doesn't play fast, but his solos are some of the best ever.
I do like Pink Floyd a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, a while back ago, I was able to find both an original Dark Side of the Moon and the Wall record at a garage sale. I was super excited.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never had the Wall on vinyl. A long time ago, I had bought Dark Side of the Moon in high school, and I bought a reissue from Amazon.
Yeah, this one had the posters in it and everything too. So
Yeah, the Amazon reissues got the posters. Yeah, it's exactly like what I bought in high school. Yeah, except it has a barcode on it.
what's that record you have on your wall behind you, Roger?
The one under the flute,
Yes, sir.
that is the record our band did in 1986.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let me grab a copy I can show you. Yeah, this was the thrill of a lifetime to get to play on an album. That's me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, in my members only jacket.
Did y'all record it on tape and then get it converted to a record, or how'd y'all do it?
We were in a recording studio, West Orange, New Jersey. It was a 24-track studio. We were on a major label. I mean, for Christian artists, Star Song.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I wrote the song that got on the radio too. One of them, well, the main one, the one they released as a single. Where is it? Well, you couldn't read it on this anyway, but Heaven's Love.
Nice.
But I remember in high school sitting in class drawing record labels with my name on them. And here it is. I think it was really kind of the thrill of a lifetime. We were playing in Chicago and we're driving into town and hearing that song on the radio.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
And then we broke up. The other records that you can see there are ones that I played on. We were kind of like the studio musicians for them, but they were all private label things.
I don't know if Kari's here or not. Well, we can go ahead and start. So if anyone has anything, they can. Dr. Moser said he'll be in and out of the meeting to make comments, and I never know where Dr. Whitfield is. So whoever wants to go first, they can go ahead and share. All right. Well, if nobody's going to share right now, I got a question for those of you who know how to write for voice, because I want to write a voice piece. And have any of you heard Hymn of Axiom? It's a piece. I can link it in the chat after I'm done. It's my favorite vocal piece. It's amazing. But I want to my piece. I kind of want it to be inspired by like Eric Whitaker and pieces like that. I'm just not sure like if there's like any specific writing rules or anything for voice. So I mean, if anyone has any tips or anything, I'd be glad to hear them out.
I don't know how in depth you want to go. I know Dr. Whitfield has some good books in his office about writing for voice, and you can look into some of those and read up on those.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what kind of voice, like, are you writing for a choir or solo?
4-part.
For choir?
Huh?
What'd you say?
4-part.
4-part. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely hit Dr. Whitfield up.
Mm-hmm.
Some good books, and that might be easier too because you can sit there writing. Like I mean, like at my desk, I have a few books for just reference. So whenever I don't know how well you saw it. Whenever I write, it's just easier for me to write, reference, and write. So you can probably ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Sit and work looking at those.
Yeah.
If you could,
go ahead.
If you could get a hold of the sheet music to a couple of pieces that you like, that always helps to just see how they wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
If you really wanted to talk to somebody about writing like that, Nathaniel Parks would be a great person to get in touch with, and I'm sure he would talk to you because he's a real nice guy, and he graduated from Gardner-Webb.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mainly what he does is vocal music with his real tight harmonies with, dissonance and just notes close together like Eric
Hmm.
Whitaker does.
Yeah. I also didn't really know if there was like a certain like key that's like just not written for voice, or I didn't know how far I could go with it, you know, because I want it in D sharp minor, but see, I don't know if that's like okay for
D,
voice or whatever.
D sharp minor? Did I hear you
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Well, that's E flat minor.
yeah. It's just the same thing, but
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was easier to read it in sharps or flats.
Well, flats definitely for that, because
Hmm.
D sharp minor would be just that's off the scale.
Hmm.
That is a good key for voice. I mean,
It's just 6 sharps, Roger.
D sharp?
Hmm.
Yeah, if you
6 sharps or 6 flats. Bishop, take your pick, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Singers are going to hate you either way. So you're going to get hated either way. I mean,
Hmm.
so enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally would rather look at E flat, uh, A flat minor than D sharp, but that's just a preference.
Hmm.
The when you were writing, I agree that E flat might be a little bit nicer in that often I'm sure Bishop you'll be raising the leading tone and doing that in E flat minor just involves a natural, whereas doing it in D sharp you have to double sharp the C, and I think a singer. I've written a couple things with some double sharps and double flats that even professional singers like look at me in disgust, like, what in the hell is this? Uh, I don't do double flats and double sharps, and so I think maybe there's something maybe better about E flat minor, and that at least a natural is something like, oh well, okay, I can handle a natural.
Aaron, question again. So I did the in-browser Zoom setup. I got that taken care of. I just don't know how to get to Zoom preferences because I don't have a Mac.
and Zoom, I haven't used a Windows computer in so long. There should be a way where you unmute yourself to be able to adjust the audio preferences.
From in this meeting right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to where the microphone is. There should be a little arrow next to
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah.
You should be able to see audio settings, and you can do everything through there.
Oh,
I guess you just found it because you muted it yourself. Back to you, Bishop. I mean, I don't do much vocal writing, but I remember sitting in classes and hearing and seeing some examples. But that seems like an okay key. Um, I wouldn't write anything lower than the E flat or the D sharp, whatever you choose, because I mean, some people can get that out, but going too low might be a little tricky. But I mean, a nice low E flat does sound good every once in a while too. So I would stick to that. Don't go any lower.
Yeah, and just mainly, well, I guess my thing would just mainly be messing around with the ranges of each voice because it's kind of like more limited than an instrument.
And that's something you just like have a reference or like a book, or
Hmm.
even you can Google.
Yeah.
Google, you get different answers. But
Mhm.
when you write, it's basically I would really stick to your 4-part writing rules that you learn in theory a lot. Just because with being singers, they're not going to want to sing necessarily like maybe a French horn part in a Sousa where they have a lot of upbeats when they're just kind of serving the song. They
Hmm.
like melodies more often than not, or at least even if they're singing in harmony, like it's vertically melodic, not necessarily horizontally serving the song. I would definitely say hit up Whitfield for some reference material and the reading. Like Roger said, do some score study, look at some music you find.
Okay. Thank you. And I linked the that other song in the chat if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah, thanks.
So does anybody have anything they want to share?
I think I've got everything set up right now, so
All right.
I'll go ahead and give it a go.
All right.
Everybody see that? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let me go. While I'm setting everything up, so I just recently finished the Agnus Day of the Mass. So buffer size, that's a big old buffer size right there. So is there anything else I got to do here, Aaron?
Change the output source. There should be go to settings. There should be an option to play through Zoom directly in your setting. Or what finale are you running?
The most the recent one, the 2026, I think is what it is.
Okay, yeah, they made a Zoom update for the most recent finale.
Okay, so
Click the settings again. Where'd that go?
I mean that's just my mixer, so I don't really know.
Keeps disappearing. Does it have an option to send out to Zoom?
What's that?
Does it not have an option to send your audio through Zoom for your output when you look at the settings?
See, it wouldn't be in the. No, it's just that. No, there's I don't know why. Oh wait, I might know why. Let me
Make sure your Zoom settings are set to same as system. Maybe that will make it pop up.
Well, I don't think I did the turn off original sound first.
Did you also make sure you have the audio on when you went to click share screen?
Yeah, I did that.
I mean, you can just play it and we hear it through your speakers being picked right back up again on the little loop there. That's fine if you can't get it.
I'm also just trying to see if I can get back to that. I got that turn off original sound thing up in the corner. I think I just forgot to actually click that. Let me unshare this and let me see if I can fix that. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, computer sounds on. So let's see if it's now. Nope. All right, well, we'll just hope for the best, I suppose. So, all right. So yeah, this is the Agnus Day. I just finished it. And yeah, not really much to talk about, so we'll just go ahead and do it. You just let me know kind of like a thumbs up or something if like the sound's coming through okay.
That's great, Chris.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I really like that. The only thing that stood out to me as a performance practice thing that really caught my attention, not performance practice, but something that could happen, just knowing the way how choirs can sometimes be during that triplet section. You have a ton of triplets coming over and over and over again. You have the vocalist singing dotted eighth, 16th rhythms, and I could just see it being an issue getting the vocalist to sing the correct rhythm versus singing a triplet rhythm. Just from my experience, like playing rhythms and percussion of choirs, it may be worth looking into just making all the rhythms in that section triplets. Um, Otherwise, it may just be a bit of hammering and rehearsal to get the rhythms correct. But I mean, it works either way. It's up to you. But just
Right.
something that I thought of as I was listening.
I will say the one thing I was mad about was that, so it got my Rallentando the first time I put it in there, but for some reason the playback would not do this retard. So there is supposed to be a pretty significant slowdown there. So, but other than that, everything pretty much went how I envisioned it to go. So.
Did you try deleting that and putting it back in?
So many times. I even tried
Okay.
just putting a Rallentando there like the last time, and for some reason it just would not. It just would not do it. But I mean, you know, like we said before, playback is gonna be stupid sometimes, but as long as the performer knows what's going on, you know.
Well, it's a very nice piece. I haven't done a lot of vocal writing, nor am I familiar with mass writing, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, from all the masses that I've either heard / done, there are, at least the ones that I've done, they're very simple. Um, Not so much as in like, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm doing more complicated things than those composers by any stretch of the imagination, but it seems like they really tried to keep it more about obviously the words of the piece. It was about simple rhythms. Everybody's doing roughly the same thing. I guess for a good point, to keep the meaning of the text across, but have something that people can actually sing. And like the instrumentation is not necessarily that hard. Um, but I mean, I am shooting for a more contemporary style of mass, because I don't think a lot of the stuff that I've done over the course of writing this stuff, a lot of the composers, would have even thought to attempt, just because I don't know, just it didn't seem like to fit the pattern of what those people were trying to write for. So, um, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I definitely wanted to keep the text important, but also give it some of a newer flair as far as some rhythms and different kinds of chords. Something like Eric Whitaker would make for like the cool chords there occasionally.
Chris, that thing with the dotted eighth, 16th, and the triplets, I've been thinking about that. Aaron mentioned, that kind of thing is done actually quite a bit, and in the Romantic period, composers like Schumann and Brahms, for example, they like to do that kind of thing, and it adds a little bit of, a little bit of rhythmic tension to the proceedings. Yeah, you might have to rehearse it a little bit and remind the people, let's be more strict on our dotted A 16th.
Right.
But I think it's worth it. myself, and I think it's not, like I said, it's not really an unusual procedure. Now back to the other point. Yeah, the composers that have done masses, some trend more toward the actual liturgical style of the mass in the Catholic Church that would be done in an actual mass service, and then others have leaned more toward more of a concert mass, that wouldn't ever really be performed that way. It's a concert piece, and they take more artistic license. So, I feel like that there's enough precedent there that there's really a wide variety of things you can do. It's just sort of what you're aiming for.
Right.
Chris, if you'd be willing to entertain one or two nuts and bolts type of suggestion, I'd like to give some.
Yeah, of course.
Could you go to the just at the very beginning? How about?
All right.
So in your piano writing, which is a lovely little lick, by the way, it seems that you're hell bent on staying left hand in the bass clef, and so much so that you're writing left hand bass clef pitches an octave up. This is very strange, and so it is okay to have treble clef and treble clef, and you can still write it your way, where you're obviously demonstrating that you want those pitches played in the left hand and the little lick played in the right hand, right? And so you can write it that way and still write it on two different staves, but it's okay to have treble clef. Like pianists don't have to just have treble clef, bass clef all the time. I mean, and I know that you know that, since I know that you've played some piano stuff that goes where both hands are in the treble.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And the second thing, can you scroll down a little bit?
Sure.
Perfect, right there. So at the end of that line that we're looking at, I see that you take great pains in, we have a B minor chord, and then we have a D major chord, and then we have another D major chord where you've taken the two pitches that were in the treble clef and you've put them in the bass clef so that you can hold them out as whole notes and hold them through your cool little lick at the end. Okay, well, you demonstrated later on in this work that you are proficient in finales layers. This is one of those times that you would just do the layer, keep it in the right hand, keep it in that treble clef in the upper staff, make it a whole note, and it's okay. At the very end of it, we'll see beat 4 is going to have those 4/16. It's okay. We understand it was layered, right? We understand
Right.
that different
Right.
voice. You here taking great pains to make sure that we see that it's different voices, and it makes it even harder to read, because I mean you're literally playing the two A and F sharp again. Your eyes look like it's some big move, and it's really not, right? And so
Right.
just little nuts and bolts things like that isn't changing your score. It's just making the score
Right.
a little bit more readable.
Yeah, and I think mentally what I was thinking is, so the performer or the pianist can, kind of strike that chord and then mentally just leave it. I think that's what I was trying to go for, because then they can just focus on the lick up here that I've done. I mean, same thing with this one. I mean, I know there's a lot of ledger lines, but I think that's probably where my brain was at, was that, they strike the chord and then mentally they can just kind of forget about what they just hit.
I can understand that goal, and like I said, this suggestion, it's not like it's the gospel truth that you have to do it like that. What you have done will accomplish, how you've written it will accomplish your goal if you want it to feel like, okay, this is something separate, because you were visually separating it. I have a question about pedaling here. If you really want it that way, why don't we compromise and you still write it in the treble clef, so you don't have to bother with all those ledger lines, especially when it's a repetition of what's exactly coming before and you're just switching staves. Like that's a lot on the eyes, especially when someone's trying to read. Why don't
Right.
you why don't you write it in whole notes, use the different layers in finale, and then maybe consider putting like a pedal marking or something where, like what we're looking at here with this nice G major chord that goes maybe across both of those measures where you have a pedal marking and you actually show that you want the pedal held. And then obviously that means that the pianist is going to hit it, grab it with the pedal, and then be able to totally free themselves from holding on. They take their right hand and they do those cool little licks way up top in the top part of this of the treble clef. That's how I think that's how a pianist would read it.
Okay.
It just
Yeah, and
from one pianist to another, I think this is a little bit harder to read than I would would hope for, especially if I'm trying to sight read it and I'm a church pianist.
Right. Yeah, and that does make sense. I also I'm not quite as proficient with like the little things to put to help each instrument, and that does make sense because I guess also I was thinking if they see that they have to hold that out and also see a lick in the process of the same measure, they would obviously know to hold it and then do it. But again, I can't really say that someone's gonna know that's what.
Well, you're right about that there is no physical way of holding all of those at the same time as also doing that lick without using the pedal. So that particular measure we're looking at, obviously they would. The question, I guess, is the next measure. It's like, do you want that lick to be I see that the left hand goes away and that lick is changed slightly, but in the right hand, I just think that when your choir is holding all of those pitches, you may experiment with actually wanting all of that in the pedal and for the pianist, both of those bars, and if you would, it's that type of stuff that you would need to notate, because a pianist would read this and would pedal that first measure, but in that second measure, maybe not. Like you might get a gutsy musician that says, you know what, I'm making the decision myself, to heck with what the composer says, and I'm holding it because it just makes more sense to me. But you also may a literalist will just simply read that and hold the G major chord for the 4 beats with the pedal, play that little lick, then totally let go of it. And you might have emptiness underneath that you don't want, or maybe you do want. Like those are questions that you have to answer.
Yeah, I think with that particular thing, I did want the chord to stop, and basically I wanted this B right here to be the only thing ringing, and then everybody comes in on that octave, or there's a split octave Bs, just to kind of give that sound right there.
Well, then you've written it exactly how you want it, and then no change necessary.
I mean, I definitely could probably like just do a set of half notes right there, and that would at least get it through the that lick. Actually, that particular lick right there is actually the G major lick.
Tie the G major chord to the 2 half notes in the next measure, and then let it go as a rest so that the B would stand on its own. You could do that.
Right. Yeah. That's so. I understand about the holding it through, and yeah, if I was going to do it, I'd probably, since I want that B to ring out, I think I'd probably just do a few half notes right after those whole notes, and then the pianist could let go after that.
But that was it. As far as musically, you have a lot of cool ideas here, and I certainly love the driving B minor end section. It was very engaging.
I had one other technical thing. While we're looking at it, measure 17, I think the flag on that E. I'm sorry, I let go of the space bar, sorry. That E, the flag should go, the stem should be up, not down, measure 17 on the piano part. Right, Dr. Moser?
Oh, yes, you're right. I don't know why that happened.
I'm sorry. I was busy shuffling some papers.
Yeah. I just happened to see that while you were talking. The other thing is back on the first page. It looks like on your part in the left hand there, you're using a slur in place of a tie. And I mean, mainly with finale, I can just tell that because it's red, but
I
I was going to say that is such good eyes if there's a difference between a tie and a slur if it weren't color coded. It's like, are you looking at thickness or something?
yeah.
Yeah, well, it is thicker. It is thicker than a tie would
Actually,
be,
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
but also, I mean, a pianist just looking at that and realizing it was a slur and not a tie would wonder whether or not to restrike that note. You
So
wouldn't need to do it in layers because it goes across the bar lines.
right, right. Well, I think I know what I did there. I was debating on whether or not to go from that minor third to to that major third. Um, or yeah, yeah. I was thinking about going from the D to the C, but then I kept it to where it was the A and the D and that F sharp on top just to keep that nice kind of triad. So I guess I originally was thinking like, oh, maybe I go down to that C sharp, and that would have been a good reason for the slur. But yeah, now that I've kept the D held on top, that makes good sense. Yeah, good eye, because I did not see that either.
And that would all really the way that's written and the way, when that's in the same octave as the B, the two notes in the right hand, correct? Am I seeing that right? It's really supposed to be all in the same octave.
What do you mean? Sorry, I wasn't quite understanding. Are you saying like that
Yes.
the B in the bass clef, but I made it an 8 VA, so it's the same B as the one that's struck, like on the top?
Well, yeah, I know Dr. Moser addressed that as far as, putting them in the treble clef, but that since you're going to have to restrike those two notes to play the melody, um, I'm just trying to think of what would be the best way to, maybe the way you've got it with a tie.
So the chord or the lick, very first lick was kind of my B minor chord lick, so that's why I had the B and the D right there. And then the next lick is that D major lick, so that's why I had the next few notes be part of the D chord. So that's why it was structured like that. At least
Yeah.
that was my intent.
Yeah. I mean, just on the surface, it looks simple, but in formulating how I would play that, yes, I would strike the first two notes, the B and the D, and then when I played the 16th notes, I would continue to hold the D down and then hit the A. Okay,
I
just
no
just
I
figuring it out.
no I see what you mean. That's because actually making it an 8 VA thing was a last minute decision. But now I see that's actually a pretty decent issue. um,
Yeah, I see what you want to do. You want to hold the D and then just have the other two notes move to change the chord.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it,
and maybe it was just the way that Finale played it. I just wasn't a huge. I like the 8 VA better than like just keeping it as a regular bass clef notes. And it might have just been the way Finale was playing the bass. Like just the bass was really heavy, and I didn't want it. And I'm sure it's just probably like, oh well, you told the top line to be mezzo piano, not the bottom line to be because yeah, I don't think it necessarily thinks about the duality right there. Sometimes anyways. So maybe it was just the way I didn't hate the idea of it just being in the bass clef. I think it was just the way that Finale played it back that I just didn't like. So I definitely could go back to the bass clef, and it would probably give some more ground, like a better kind of foundation. And it's not like you'd have to play it very loud either. So
yeah. And with Finale, with any kind of MIDI playback, when you have overlapping notes, you can have issues with notes cutting off or not sounding, or
right, right.
yeah. And if
That's that same thing does it in the sanctus that I have. A note kind of starts to decrescendo even though I haven't even done anything, because it's doing other notes at the same time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, in that case, I think I might go back to my original plan and just do the bass clef there, because then it wouldn't have I wouldn't have to make it have the treble clef line on the bottom and then have to switch it mid music. So it actually it's a little easier that way too. So the pianist doesn't have to think that much about doing that. So.
Well, don't be afraid to write what you really want.
Oh, right. And that's what I mean. Like, I think I did like the bass originally. I just don't think I liked how Finale played the bass. But, so that's probably why I did that. So I'll go back and kind of listen to it a couple times and see which one I actually do want. And I'll have to kind of readjust some things. But other than that, yeah. Well, I didn't mean to take up all of the time. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Or any further comments on this, I guess, before we close it out?
Premarital lip locking.
All right. I'll go ahead and stop this. Anybody else wants to do anything?
Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, I guess we can just go ahead and end this meeting early. It's only 10 minutes early, but it's still early. So thanks for sharing, Chris.
No problem.
And I guess we'll see everybody next week.
Right.
Bye.